Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology, coming to you live from an oh-so-warm Central Florida where it is baking outside. More on that soon as people come in the door. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thumbs up. That would be good. Do that, please. For those of you watching the replay, don't forget to make sure that you select the bell notification, select all so you don't miss those notifications. And if YouTube is doing what it's supposed to, which is hit or miss, you may or may not get notified when we go live. And being in a live when it's live is a good thing because this is where we give away record players, records, all kinds of free products and things. And today I've got some very interesting things to share with you. Like I always like to do in live programs, I will be doing things in this show that nobody else is going to know about. You're going to get first news or first alert on some stuff, which will be great. Marcus, welcome in. Hello, do you like Nancy Sinatra? So these boots are made for walking. It'd be the one song I know about Nancy Sinatra, and I love that song. Definitely have that on rotation. I don't have a record of that. That would be cool to pick up at some point. But yeah, I love that sort of 60s music. Very different from her father. But yeah, very, very cool. Random question. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, sure. Coming from an Elvis nut at that. But, you know, there's some sort of throughput. I hate the term connective tissue. I hate that. But people say that between Elvis and Sinatra. Obviously, there's that famous video where they sung each other's songs and all that stuff. Do you have any Weezer records? Wheatley says, welcome in, by the way. I do. I actually have a Weezer CD. Not on vinyl, but I did before I got into big band music and kind of went down that musical route. I had the Weezer Blue album. Very cool stuff. Julian, welcome in. Scott, welcome in. Hey, from a hot Florida, boy. And I tell you what, you know what it's like because it is 99 degrees and the heat index last time I checked was 112. And I am just melting. Dude, it is so hot. It is so hot. It routinely in the summertime in Colorado gets up to the upper 90s and hundreds, low hundreds, but it's not like this. This is like, I wouldn't say unlike anything I've ever experienced because we've been here before in summer, but this is really, really warm. I think the hottest heat I've ever felt, though, was at the Hoover Dam when we went to Vegas once, and we went to the Hoover Dam, and it was not only like 110 degrees, but it was really like gale force winds. So it was like taking a hot air blow dryer and pointing it in your face and just like this heat. It was incredible. Absolutely hot. So yeah, it's hot. It's humid. And that's why I thought it'd be a great time for us all to hang out. Let's get out of the heat. If you're in a hot area, if you're not, be thankful. And we can hang out and talk records or whatever else you guys want to talk about. Marcus said it's listening to Nancy Sinatra right now. Yeah, These Boots Are Made for Walking is a fantastic song. Wheelie says, I recently bought the Pinkerton vinyl. That's awesome. You'll have to let us know how that goes. I was sweating big time at work earlier, says Scott. And that's the thing. You think about, you still see people, construction workers, road workers, and it's just like, are you serious? Like, I'm surprised that all the workers' unions, we were talking about this earlier, for the people that are covered under unions, don't force them to not work when it's this hot because it's dangerous. I've never seen anywhere in my life the maps. So we sometimes getting around, as we are learning our way around, we will use the Maps app, like, hey, Siri, take me to whatever. And on that, oops, I just turned my phone. I didn't know I had the Hey Siri thing turned on. Oh, I said it again. I didn't know I had that activation thing turned on. Anyway, that's probably why my battery's been draining so fast. Usually I have that off. But on the map, when it was giving the turn-by-turn directions, it said heat advisory. Like it was heat warnings everywhere. And it's just crazy. It's like, stay out of the heat. What time is it, Julian, right now? It is 3:53 here in Orlando. How about where you are? Nancy had another somewhat hit called Sugartown. And I'd probably recognize it if I heard it, Scott. Scott, you are like an encyclopedia on all music. Very impressive. If I have a question about any artist or anything, I'll just come to you. That's just water. Just trying to stay hydrated. This is one of those enormous like Christmas cups. that you get that has like recipes of like hot chocolate and stuff in it. And then it's just like this oversized mug. It's great for ice water on a day like today. Julian says, it's all right. It's already like 12 something at my house. Oh, o'clock. Okay. All right, guys. So what we're going to do today, a couple of things I had planned. Mostly I just wanted to hang out with you guys. So any questions, comments, whatever, let me know. If I get behind on that, forgive me. I'll try to get caught up. And I have a surprise. We have something new to share with you. So I'm going to be sharing that with you a little bit later. And I've got a stack of new to me records that were given from a friend and sent to me. And so some interesting titles here I want to go over. I need to get them cleaned. The dog has been sniffing this pile of records lately, which makes me have questions. Maybe I should wash my hands. I don't want to lick my fingers after I handle these. Yeah, so let's start with those. We'll go through these records, and I'll do them in my style that I emulate from my friend Tim Allen, where I read the catalog number off to you and kind of peruse and savor the experience and hope you guys enjoy that. Obviously, looking for your guys' comments as we go. Got some interesting titles here for sure. Julian, do I like TikTok? We do TikTok, so check out Record-ology on TikTok. In fact, we do content over there that we don't do anywhere else as well. And yeah, that will be good. Hold on one second here. All right, first record up, we have Drum-ology. This is a 7-inch record, RCA Victor. This is EPAT, so it's an EP, and this is 437, Buddy, Lou, Hamp, and Zutty. So these are some really cool conglomerate of drummers that were, popular back in the day. Obviously, you've got Lionel Hampton as well. I think that's, who's that? Lou Bellison, famous jazz drummer, and Zutty Singleton, Buddy Rich, of course. Some greats on here. This is a Victor pressing EP, 2 tracks on each side, and the sleeve here is in pretty good condition. It's split seam, but it works for now. It works. I need to get this in a poly sleeve. I have listened to this. It sounds pretty good. This is a collector's issue, by the way. So anytime any record or anything says collectors, it's pretty much not a collector's at that point. But that's okay. I'm interested in records to listen to them for the most part. Also, there was an artist, I listened to this record and I heard a very distinctive sound. And he's a bassist, and I cannot think of his name. This is going to drive me nuts. Hold on. I got to Google this because I can't move on until I get this cleared out. So, famous jazz bassist. See if that brings it up. There's a lot of famous jazz bassists. Slam Stewart. Okay, yeah. So if you've ever heard Slam Stewart before, you know that his sound is unlike any other because he actually draws the bow across the strings to create, and then he sings an octave above that. He does like a, what do you call it? Like scat singing, one octave above what he plays with. And it's very unique sound, very cool. There's a fantastic video of him in the 80s playing his creation Flatfoot Flugie with Louis Bellison, and Benny Goodman. And it's a fantastic video, something to check out. So yeah, Drum-ology. There is a record that I had I had the digital or the CD of it years and years ago. It was a drum battle, and it's got one of the most fantastic covers. And this is very similar to that. So highly recommended. Other 7-inch record that came was part 2 of BG and Hi-Fi, Benny Goodman. And this is a Capitol release. This is Capitol EAP 2-565. And we've got a classic mid-century cover right there. Slam Stewart was part of the duo Slam. Yeah, Slim and Slam. Yeah, exactly. Those guys are fantastic. Just really good stuff. I've got several of their albums saved on Apple Music. And here we go, Capitol pressing with a dark green label. And I don't think I've listened to this one yet. It looks visually just grating, and it looks fantastic, except for some pen mark on it. But yeah, really, really cool. Definitely am a fan of Benny Goodman. If you're a big band connoisseur of any sort, you have to give credit where credit is due, and Benny Goodman ranks right up there. It was actually an old friend of Glenn Miller, and he and Glenn were roommates at one point, and they were in Red Nichols and his Five Pennies orchestra together, and I think a couple other bands as well, and gave advice to Glenn when he was trying to get started. And Glenn struggled early on. Album is reissued later on. The hits of Benny Goodman. Good to know. Okay, moving on to the 12-inch records. This one is Ferrante and Piano's Teacher. I know I've seen this name everywhere in Paradise. And this is a United Artists pressing. Does not have the cover, just has the inner sleeve. Ferrante and Teacher. I've seen it everywhere, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So you'll have to forgive me. But this is some fantastic mid-century jazz music as well. Yep. Okay, moving on. We have Sweet and Tough. Ace Cannon, the famous saxophone player. No, that is not Ace Cannon. That is some lady they hired just to model on the front. The Memphis Sound, High Records, Mono HL 12030. I did listen to this, and it sounded like a whole lot of saxophone to me. I just was like, I don't know if I just want to listen to pure saxophone. It just wasn't, it was, you know what I mean? It was interesting. Yeah, so a very, very late, common late 60s look here. I have some of their stuff. How do you pronounce it, Scott? I'm sure you know. Next up, this is cool. Superman. My grandson would love this. Superman record. The animated series composed by Shirley Walker. This is on Water Tower Music. We were just talking about them. DC Comics, Warner Brothers. Wow, this is a newer issue, 2015. I didn't realize how contemporary this is. Or, yeah, well, said it was. It is. And then we got a gatefold there with some artwork, some Superman. Kind of, I like the Art Deco theme styling there. You can tell that even though this is a modern rendering or drawing of our friend Clark Kent, that they did it in sort of a retro style. And on the back, we got that. So pretty cool stuff. And my producer, who I sometimes get looks from, is sending me subliminal messages, and I'm trying to decipher what those would be so that I can stop doing whatever I'm not supposed to be not doing or start doing whatever I am supposed to be doing. And here's actually not. It was just an ad. Superman insert here. The animated series composed by Shirley Walker. I've never heard of Shirley Walker. Let's go to the record itself. I haven't really looked through these, as you can tell. I received these, I think, last week. Is there a record in here? What the heck? Okay. This is what I get. Why am I so low? Okay, I'll get my chair sunk down. I've got one of those piston things, and I bought a cheap chair, and I like sinking down. Oh, this is cool. Look at this. This is what I get for not looking through these. Look at this record. Look at that. That is awesome. This side is playable. Isn't that the coolest thing? That is super cool. Look at this. It's so cool. Superman. Strange shape record. I was like, I picked up the sleeve and it was like loose. I was like, is there no record in here? And that's because it doesn't take up much room in there. That's crazy. Dale says, why is the Billy Joel Greatest Hits Volume 3 so darn expensive? I have red vinyl, but I've heard of an orange one. I don't know. You know, Billy Joel, if you guys ever listen to Jim Gaffigan, you'll know the joke, Billy Joel. It's a whole joke he has. It's great. If you like Billy Joel, look up Jim Gaffigan, Billy Joel, because it tells a story about Billy Joel. Prime comedy. Anyway, Billy Joel is one of these artists that I'm really learning to appreciate more the older I get. And I realized that a lot of songs I didn't realize were from him are. So I'm not sure about that one. I haven't looked into it, but I know it's really good music. Music Talk with John. By the way, welcome in, everybody. I have 2 Batman read-along comics that came with a 45 as actors and sound effects. Boom, pow, like 60 show. That's great. That's so cool. I actually have a lot of similar type of records I need to do shows on. Some Star Wars stuff, Star Trek stuff. Scott says, Son of Jarrell. Music Talk says, Billy Joel. G3 has been reissued. Rare is expensive. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, next. We have a Phase 4 record here. This is melody and percussion for 2 pianos. Ronnie Aldrich and his 2 pianos. It's one of these deals where he's like playing one hand here and then one hand back there. London Records SP 44007. This is a typical for this record label. It's a gatefold. It's a very heavy duty gatefold pressing here. Interesting. I love it. Talk about Phase 4 stereo, 20 channel console, left speaker, right speaker, record groove, tape path, all that good stuff. The repertoire. This is great. This is an audiophile record. This is for sitting down and just savoring it. Look at that gloss on there. Yeah, this is cool. London Phase 4. Good stuff. This would probably be good music to work by. Absolutely. Scott has this. Also has the Christmas album. That's awesome. I'll listen to some Christmas music this week. In fact, there is a show that needs to be edited and posted, hopefully tonight. This is our big weekend show. It's a review of a record player we've never reviewed before. And I play some Christmas music on there, shamelessly. This one still has a shrink wrap. So I always take the shrink wrap off because I heard and believe that it can continue to shrink and contort your record. So I don't want that. Henry Mancini favorites. Now there is connective tissue or a through line between Henry Mancini and Glenn Miller. And that, here I'm sinking again. This stupid chair, just like, I got to fix this chair. Like I start up here and then like I just keep drifting down, down, down. I don't need a pillow. I think I'll be here. Every once in a while, I'll just reach over and lift it up. And people like to watch that, I bet. So anyway, Henry Mancini was in the Glenn Miller orchestra that started post Glenn Miller's passing or missingness. So when Tex Beneke started up the orchestra in 1945, civilian orchestra again, it was made with a lot of components, meaning personnel from the Army Air Corps band. One exception was Henry Mancini, who joined the band at that point and got his commercial start with the Glenn Miller Orchestra under the direction of Tex Beneke, which later became the Tex Beneke and Glenn Miller Orchestra, and finally the Tex Beneke Orchestra. Until about 1949, 1950, he parted ways with the Glenn Miller estate, who oversaw the band licensing and went on to his own success in the 50s and for decades thereafter. Obviously, Henry Mancini, a household name. This is Henry Mancini favorites, including Dear Heart, Moon Rivers, Days of Wine and Roses on Crown Records, stereo CST 459. And this is one of those records, I would consider it a budget record, where the back is simply an advertisement for other records. And let's check this out. This is a very basic white label with black ink. This is a thick record, though. I've also noticed that a lot of cheaper record labels will have these very distinct track separators. Have you ever noticed that before? They did the arrangements for the Glenn Miller story. Did Mancini do that? Did he arrange that? Because there was a orchestra. There was a. I think you're right, but I think that the orchestrations were done by somebody else. Glenn. By the way, if you haven't seen our Glenn Miller story locations video, we went on location where a lot of that was filmed back in Denver. Met a guy who was an extra in it too. You're right. Yeah, he helped out on the score. I did not know that, or I didn't remember that. With Joseph Gershenson. Interesting. Huh. I love the score to that, by the way. I love the score to that. Old Radios, welcome in. Welcome into everybody if I haven't said it already. Greg, welcome into you as well. I don't think you've been on a live yet. That's cool. Yeah, you've told me about that trip. That's great. Congratulations. Thank you for all the kind words. That's really cool. Found a yellow sports Walkman and Muntz 4-track tapes. Oh, wow, 4-track tapes. I was same friend that gave me this almost gave me some 4-track tapes a while back, but I don't really want to go down that road. So I'm impressed that you do. Some of the 8-track players were compatible with both formats. Different orchestra, we did arrangements for them. That's really interesting, Scott. That's really cool. You and I could totally geek out on Glenn Miller stuff. Next up, we have dynamic directional stereo, exotic percussion, very exotic percussion, and brilliant brass. Radio Shack, $2.95. Regularly $3.98. Directional sound, DS5006. On the flip side, this is a thick gatefold presentation. Lots to read. This is a record. Again, this is an audiophile grade press. I can tell this is like probably 170, 160 grams. Pretty basic label, but it's a great condition record. It ought to sound fantastic. As far as record players go, the PLX is still up there, but I've been actually playing my right hand number one turntable of the week has been the SLDL1. I had the SLBD22 and the P mount, and I put this. Well, this is also P mount. The SLDL1 lately. Perfect track because it's linear. Those percussion records with the dots on the cover are very prevalent. I think you're right. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Stereophonic dance party with Jose Melis, the Jack Parr Show, and famous Jack Parr, and other popular orchestras. Look at that color. Well, that's some water damage. Ooh, that's gross. That's probably what the dog is sniffing. Look at that. Ooh, it's like red. It's probably just some water damage, but it reminds me of that time, Palace Records. What is this? PST 690. I remember this reminds me of the time that I passed up a Nakamichi tape deck. It wasn't the Dragon. It was predated that. But it was like a 1982, 1983 Nakamichi. $14 because it had some red on it. It looked like blood. It was in the height of the mask era, if you know what I mean. And it just wasn't feeling it that day. I look back and I'm like, I just wiped it off with a Clorox wipe. But I didn't. Okay, we're going to play a little game. Oh, on Reel to Reel, Scott? That's cool. Yeah, Greg, that's awesome, dude. That'll be a fun trip to California. Enjoy. All right, we're going to play a little game, and this game is called Let's Name Records That You Always See at Thrift Stores. I want to see how many guesses it takes before we get this. This is an artist, not necessarily this exact title, but let's get the artist. Top 10 thrift store records artists. Go in the comments. Let's do it in the chat. I want to see. This is top. I would say this is a top 10. You will see it right up there with Jim Neighbors, kind of a deal. Herb Alpert, good guess, but no. Actually, I don't see much whipped cream lately. I see a lot of Herb Alpert, but not the whipped cream album. Okay, that's a good guess. That's one. Herb Alpert again. Firestone Christmas. There are so many of those. You are right. Andy Williams, no. Good guesses. Good guesses. Keep it coming. Yeah, Firestone Christmas. How funny. Goodyear Christmas. Nope. Jaden, welcome in. Neil Diamond, also a good guess, but no, not that. Keep it coming. Time Life box sets. Nope. Think horn player. That ought to give it away. Scott, you got it. You got to be the one that's going to get this. Come on now. I know that everybody will be like, oh, I know that one. Lawrence, welcome. Nope. We are guessing, Jaden, what is the top 10 title you always see at the thrift store when you go record hunting there? What is one of those thrift store records? I got one of them, and I wanted you to see if you could guess it. Harry James, Tommy Dorsey. Nope. More 50s, 60s. Mitch Miller is a good guess as well, but no. These are all definitely correct, but not what I have in my hand. Keep coming. This is one you always see. Henry Mancini, no. We already had a Henry Mancini album. Mitch Miller, Bobby Hackett. No, great guesses. Keep them coming. Mom and Dad's in my hometown. I've seen that, but no. That was a weird record. Absolutely weird, but no. Let's see. RCA Victor. This is LSP stereo. Victor release. Come on. You guys know this. Sergio Mendes. No, you're digging too deep. This is like top 5 thrift stored record artists that you will see, although not this particular title. Chuck Mangione. Nope. Sergio Mendes. Nope. Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Al Hurt. It's Al Hurt. You always find an Al Hurt record. This is cool looking one, though. The Horn meets the Hornet. Green Hornet with Al Hurt. I guarantee you that if you go to a thrift store, you're going to find an Al Hurt record. Absolutely. And this is one. And this one looks cool. It says a Dynagroove record. I like it. Looks really, really cool. Look, this mask is like a hand-drawn emblem on it. I love it. Okay. I feel like all of these are actually thrift store records, which is cool. I like thrift store records. Got a couple more to go. He was like, duh. I know. I knew everybody would be like, oh, man, that's like so typical. I see a lot of mom and dad records, yeah. Okay, Roger Williams Country Style on Cap Records, KS 3305. Roger Williams Country Style featuring Ramblin' Rose, San Antonio Rose, Red River Valley, and others. A lot of people may pass this over or use it as a project record of gluing and decorating and not listening to. But I will actually listen to this record. I love these songs. And Roger Williams is talented for sure. And No Cap, exactly. Ooh, this is a cool label. Check this label out. I don't think I've ever seen this one. Isn't that neat? Cap. Really cool. I like that. No Cap. My son will be rolling his eyes right now. Actually, everybody's rolling their eyes right now. I have, I think, 5 Al Hurt. Scott. I have a few as well. Not bad. Absolutely not bad. Okay, one more. Wait, no, 2 more. This is an interesting one. This one. Okay, Scott, this is a contest just for you. Or I shouldn't say a contest. This is a question just for you. So the record is Ted Heath at the London Palladium, LL802. This looks like an early LP. Recorded at Ted Heath's 89th London Palladium Sunday concert, April 12th, 1953. This looks like a pre-high fidelity record. London Full Frequency. And there's old Ted Heath there. So this is a big band artist, and I'll show the back here. They even say it has the RIAA curve. I still need to do that show. Suppa Prince, welcome in. Better late than never, exactly. But tell me, Scott, or anybody, if they know the answer, what is the throughput story? What is the connection between Ted Heath and Glenn Miller? Besides the fact they're both big band artists. You have that one on CD. I'm surprised it was issued on CD. Made in England. It's like I'm offering you a platter. Here you go. What's the connection? Glenn Miller to Ted Heath, besides the fact that they're both Army? It's a good question. Jaden says, I just listened to my Patsy Cline just recently. I really liked her music. Awesome. What did you end up getting? Did you get a CD or which album was it? That's really cool. Good afternoon. Sorry I'm late. No worries. Welcome in. Let's play it. Hey, I'm all for it. Sometimes that doesn't come through. We can try. Yeah, let's do that. Let's try to play it. You guys will tell me if it sounds like garbage. The microphone I'm using is a USB mic, and I've got a fan on in here, so I don't know how well this will sound, but let me fire up my preamp. We're going to use the SLDL1. And that should be this input. Let's give it a listen. Ted Heath. Only thing I can think of is they both recorded Abbey Road Studios. And that may be. So here's the connection I was thinking of. There was a... Okay. I've got to look it up, so I want to speak somewhat intelligently. That's hard for me to do. What? It could be like that. And I always say that I lose what little intelligence I had left when I do these shows in terms of recall. So yeah, it becomes hard for me to think of stuff. Okay, here's the tie-in. No, that's not the name of it. Okay. Yes. This is it. This is it. Absolutely. Let me make sure. Let me fact check myself before I say something. I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. No, it was completely wrong. No, this is completely. There's what? I thought there was a Ted Heath connection. Okay, never mind. What I was saying, I thought the movie Pot of Gold, 1941 with Jimmy Stewart, featured band leader Ted Heath, but it actually features Horace Heidt. So never mind. It was dumb. Okay, I'm sorry. Back to the show. Never said that. Never happened. Here we go. We're going to listen to a little Ted Heath, though. Man, embarrassing. Jeez. Okay, here we go. You have to let me know if you guys can hear this or not. Yeah, Horace Heidt and his musical nights. I'm going to cue this a little further up. Tell me if you guys can hear this or not. It's going. Does that come through? Can you guys hear the music? Dropped a couple different times. What? Yeah, I think you can. You heard it? Okay, a couple more spots here. I don't even know if you're being serious half the time. Sounds pretty good to me. All right. Not about a copyright strike, so let's go ahead and skip forward a little bit. Ted Heath's slogan was "Listen to my music." In his early lesson, something's covering this. Hold on. Listen to my music in his early days. Interesting. Sounds good. It's an early LP. Yeah, there's good fidelity on that. I would love to play more music on the lives. And if that sounded like listenable, that would be really good. The reason I don't do it is I tried it a couple of years ago, and what ended up happening is it just sounded bad. The mic was trying to decide whether or not to pick up me or the music because it's just speakers in the room, and it didn't sound good. People were saying they couldn't hear me or the music. So anyway, yeah, there you go. Ted Heath. This thing is going to get a new sleeve as soon as it gets cleaned. I haven't cleaned any of these yet. I filmed a parade with my Super 8 camera. It was hot out. I think I got sunburned. Boy, tell me about it. It's 100. The heat index now is like 112 the last time I checked. It's insane. Insane. Where are you based, Old Radio? I know you told me a bunch of times. I can't remember. But here in Central Florida, mucho hot. Mucho hot. Okay, one more record, and then we'll get on to the news I have to share with you. This also doesn't have a sleeve, so maybe somewhat anticlimactic. Stereo, 1967. Paul Murriott, Blooming Hits. Look how nice the artwork is. Why am I showing you this? Okay, what's the record look like? Philips. This is the same Philips label that is used. This, by the way, is PHS 600-248. This is the same Philips label that is used for the One Stormy Night albums. And it's the most desirable because the Warner versions of the One Stormy Night albums are dubs. And if you listen to them side by side, you can hear a generational loss. So Philips record label is a good thing. That's literally just in the slip sleeve and the no cover whatsoever. So yeah, that's my latest haul. And if you missed the beginning of it, also these 2 7-inch records. I haven't cleaned or sleeved any of these. But what'll happen, my intake process is this. I clean them in the spin clean. I put them in proper inner sleeves and outer sleeves, and then I file them. And speaking of filing, I really need to get some of the plastic dividers. Greg, hey, welcome in. We got 10 CD set of Glenn Miller called Milestones, which has cuts from his early albums. That's cool. All right, I'm going to look that up right now. I need to do a Glenn Miller CD haul. It makes up about 1/3 of my entire CD collection. It's like 1/3 Patsy Cline, 1/3 Glenn Miller, and then 1/3 everything else. Glenn Miller Milestones CD. Oh, those look cool. If you haven't already, you need to go over and check out some of those resources that the Glenn Miller Archive has. You would love it. Really cool. That's neat. I have not seen that. And a good price too. It's a good deal. Does it have some of his first band, so the 1937 stuff? That's really cool. It's a UK pressing. Really cool. All right, guys. So I wanted to share with you some news. This has been hiding in plain sight. But I wanted to wait till I physically got a hold of it so I could physically show you before I announced it. As you guys know, we have a merchandise store through Teespring, which is now called Spring. And products come in and out of there. So if you see something and you like it, I would encourage you to get it sooner than later, because sometimes we roll them off, especially if they don't sell as well as other ones. We keep the ones that sell better, and the ones that don't sell as well, they get pushed back. So I don't want you guys to miss something, because we've definitely had exclusive merch that has gone away. This, however, is among 2 new items that we just recently put in there. One of them, and they both feature artwork that we recently created using some AI technology. It's a dog and a phonograph in a very Nipper-esque type of pose. Got a lot of Nipper around here. And this would be suitable artwork for framing as well. We might do that down the road. But for now, these products can be yours to own with that artwork. And it really it transfers well to the products. It does a good job. So we have the first time ever to show you right now. There we go. Making its debut right here on Record-ology. The official Record-ology sandals, or slides as they call them, featuring that adorable Puppo dog right there. Record-ology mascot, I guess you might say. At this point, he might be our new mascot. Seen there by Vintage Phonograph. And these are, these really heavy. I was surprised how durable. I wanted to see if they were any good, because, sometimes merch that you buy from different places can be cheap, especially t-shirts. Getting a good merch t-shirt from a content creator can be hard, because Teespring used to have not the best reputation for t-shirt printing. Like, you would print it and then three washes and it's gone. Luckily, they've fixed their process for t-shirts, but their other products have always been good, and these look to be no exception. Those are, look at the blend on that. That is really, really cool. because this is a square image and it has this really nice fade, which I think is good. And so it's a good quality sandal. This feels like a foam rubber bottom to it. It's rigid. It's like surprisingly heavy. These are a nice soft fabric tops to them, and I'm literally just going to use these. And I bought these to share with you and then to actually wear. But yeah, this is a cool. You can buy these today in our store tab or in the merchandise shelf below our videos, and they're available until they aren't. I don't know how long we'll keep them around. Hopefully, people like them. But it's summertime, and this is perfect summer attire. And they seem to be very good. Like I said, I've been very pleased with the quality. They don't feel cheap. They have good weight to them. They have a nice, I don't know if you can see it because it's dark with the light in there. Yeah, it's got a contoured footbed, so they're not just flat. They are contoured, and they look like they would be quite comfortable. So I'm going to start using these. You can get your own in our store tab, but that's the news. We also have a beer pint glass with the same artwork, and I don't have one of those yet, but if you want that art on a different product, you can take a look there as well. Scott says it cuts from the 10-inch albums of This Is Glenn Miller and the soundtracks from the movies. And the one, let's see, is from New Glenn Miller, The Raven Killing. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's a good overview. Do you have the Avid collection, Scott? I assume you do. The Avid collection where they have like the 3D surround enhanced stereo, which purists don't like, but I actually personally don't mind listening to some of that stuff. But that's a pretty good collection as well out of the UK. I have it on cassette, if you can believe it. I have MP3s of it as well. But in terms of physical media, I have the whole cassette collection, and it's a pretty good overview of Glenn Miller's military career, especially. What I like is I think the Avid collection is the only place where you can get some of the post Glenn Miller missing recordings in Paris, which is phenomenal, and including some of the last recordings the band did, even when it went back stateside. And there was a big decommissioning ceremony, and the band was officially relieved of duty. They performed for the president and everything. It was amazing. I think the Avid collection has some of that. Kyle says, got me an old sound design portable 8-track player today. Oh, that's cool. Send me a picture of that, Kyle. That sounds really cool. That's really, really cool. Here's a question. When you're digitizing your vinyl, what program do you use? It's a great question. We did a video about this years ago. It was like one of the first month of videos we did. I just use Audacity. I have used just digital recorders. Like I've never been one to be like, oh, I want to play with the settings on it and whatever. If I'm going to record vinyl, I'm realizing that I'm just capturing the vinyl. So typically I do a straight recording. The last time I recorded anything from vinyl was actually onto some metal cassette tape, doing like a high quality transfer for my own personal use. And, but I either do that or like a digital recorder, like my Zoom digital recorder. But if you've got a turntable with the USB, obviously you have the ability to do that. So yeah, if I do any editing, it would be in Audacity. I've done some things before, mostly just experimenting where you record it. You can record like at 78, for example, in Audacity at 45 RPM, and then go in and change the speed to 78, things of that nature. David with a super chat, $5. Thank you, David. I really, really appreciate that. I can go buy myself a record now. I really appreciate that. That's great. I can go record hunting. Thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. Never expected, but always appreciated, my friends. Thank you for all of your support of the channel. That's amazing, David. Thank you very, very much. Scott says, I have a couple of the Avid of the Air Force Band. I think there are 9 volumes. Yeah. I years ago, I found somebody selling the cassette complete collection for like $9. And I'm like, well, that's a good way to get it. I have a couple on CD too. And like I said, that 3D surround sound effect is wild. Obviously from mono recordings, but I think it's a good set. I really, really, the purists will, because of that adulteration they do, or alteration they do with the audio. Some people don't like it, but I think it's good. I think it's really, really good. I also like my gateway into Glenn Miller music-wise was actually the oh, what is it? It was the Secret Broadcast 3D CD set. Also the Lost recordings. And again, the purists will tell you they are neither lost nor secret. They've actually been commercially released, but they were really, really well restored when those CDs came out in the late 90s, 96, I believe it was. They used Cedar, which is still sort of an industry standard noise filtration and editing program. And they did it right. It's interesting because those sets, those are RCA Victor sets. They were initially released in the UK. I've got a UK issue of the Secret Broadcast too. But what they did was they took out so basically they ran all of the noise reduction filters, and they ended up with a very flat recording because all of your ambient echo and your ambient reverb that gives the sparkle and kind of the studio sound to an album is all essentially in those frequencies that get stripped out for noise reduction. So what they did in those two sets is they pulled out the noise, and then they added their own hint of reverb, not enough to give it a reverby sound, but just enough so it didn't sound completely flat. And I personally think the sound is really, really good. Scott says, I think I have volumes 1 and 2 of the recordings, not the live stuff, but I have a bunch of the complete Sustain the Wings recordings and the Victor 5 album set. Yeah, I've got the Victor 12 EP set version of that, and the CD, which has a lot more. Yeah, the CD version of that set is really good as well. But yeah, I would encourage you to check that out. The I Sustain the Wings broadcast, fantastic. And then if you really want to get in the weeds, the individual bands that were split out from the big band, George Okel's Strings with Wings shows. Let's see, the Ray McKinley's Swing Set, I think, was one of the shows. And then there was another one that just featured the big band by itself. It was an entire organization of multiple bands, multiple musicians. I was friends with a guy from Denver that played with Glenn Miller. And when the band was at Yale, before shipping overseas, they auditioned musicians that had been promoted from different branches of service into the Yale campus to essentially be auditioned and screened for possible use in the band. And this gentleman who I got to know, Gordon Dooley, there's no reason not to say it, his name is Gordon Dooley, went and played with Glenn Miller. He played a whole session with him. And I remember seeing him. He remember telling me, he sat down with me and told me the story about seeing Glenn come in and got to play a bunch of songs, including Caribbean Clipper was the first one that they played. He remembered that. Gordon Dooley has since passed, but he was a good friend of mine. I also got to know a lot of folks attached to the band, including Steve Miller, Glenn Miller's son. I actually rode around in my car with some bootleg Glenn Miller recordings, which is funny because he was also the person that was in charge of the licensing. So nobody hated a bootleg more than Steve Miller. And we were listening to bootleg Glenn Miller in my car. It's kind of a funny story. That was years and years ago. That was in another century. Yeah, The Secret and Lost and others. Yeah, it's good stuff. Julian, welcome. And I said hi to you. I said hi early. Sup, Prince. I was wondering if there was any master recordings only for vinyl. Of which artist? I use Audacity. It says Vinyl Rage. Master. Well, there's purpose-made recordings like lathe cut records and things. I've got a 7-inch record that was during the lockdowns. There was this record company. I don't even know if they're still there. We could look it up, called Least of All Records. And they did these really cool clear plastic. Let's see, are they still around? Yeah, I think they're still there. So yeah, they did Least of All. So LEESTAVALL.com. And artists you could pay, I guess they're about $30 a piece. And these up and coming artists would get together and record a song just for you and make a one of a kind. And oftentimes they would say to so-and-so on the recording, play a song. It was lathe cut and they would ship it to you. And I have one. I have one from a Jeremy Money band. It was back in Denver, a jazz band. Very cool. And so that's a once of a kind. I don't know if we consider it a master because there'd be no copies made from it, but a cool thing anyway. Oh, that's a good tip. Vinyl rage saved at -6 dB. Interesting. Very interesting. That software cracks me up because it's so simple, so basic, and but it's great. It's free and it does so many good things. People make a lot of good things with it. Stupid chair. Gosh, this chair's driving me crazy. So, what else are you guys up to? What other questions do you guys have? We talked about the new slides that are available. We have talked about the stack of records that I need cleaned. What am I looking for? What are you guys looking for? Now that I got this awesome super chat from David, thank you, David. I would consider any one of the following. From the Beatles standpoint, I'm still working on that. I've got about half of everything at this point in one format or another. I need to get the regular Let It Be album, and I've got the Let It Be Naked, and listening to both, I definitely prefer the naked version. I need to get the White Album. I need to get Help. I need to get Help. I need to get Rubber Soul, Magical Mystery Tour, Revolver. I think that's it. Yeah, exactly. Scott, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate you being here. There's some vinyl records, especially box sets, you'll never find on CD or any digital format. That's cool. Yeah, I've heard that before. It does have click removal. So yeah, those are the Beatles titles I'm looking for, either on CD or vinyl. I love CDs. Absolutely. I'm equally a fan of CDs as much as vinyl. You know what I mean? It's just great. I like putting on a pair of headphones and just like sitting on the couch or laying in the bed or something and just listening to music with headphones on. And I don't like the sound of vinyl as much through headphones as I do through speakers. I think it just sounds a lot better on speaker. I've used some really good headphones, monitors, really studio monitors. And records to me just don't sound as good on headphones, even good ones. So CDs sound consistent, either headphone or speakers. I love the sound of vinyl on speakers, but for me, I prefer them. I prefer them on speakers. So compact discs are really good for that portability. I like that, and I still enjoy making. We're talking about recording. I still enjoy duplicating for my own purposes songs, and making playlists and putting songs on thumb drives and making mixtapes and things. I just have fun with it. So sometimes reel to reel. I make reel to reel tapes for my own use. I've got a lot of blank stock. That might be an interesting show, looking through all the blank stock I have. That's some interesting tape, like Irish tape, Shamrock tape, all kinds of grades of tape, and fascinating stuff. I love that. I really love tape. I love all physical formats. I think they're really, really cool. So do you guys have any questions, or what are you guys looking for? What kind of records are you shopping for? What would you like to see? I'm always looking for Star Trek soundtracks. I'm always looking for Star Wars soundtracks. Patsy Cline records, just getting a little hard to find anything new at this point. Different variants. There are a couple things out there, but it's such a short career and so few records were released that I pretty much got that covered. I've got my Peggy Lee collection. I must have 25 Peggy Lee recordings at this point. So I'm pretty much getting close. Jackie Gleason, I've got about 15, 20 records. Elvis, I could definitely beef up the Elvis collection. I want to get more of the movie soundtracks, and if I find them for a good price, I would do that. What else am I looking for? Always looking for just interesting stuff, unique stuff, advertising things, one-offs, lathe cut records, and things like that. Old Radios needs a new Mac computer. Hey, you and me both. I am at the cusp of computers outdating themselves, and you get to the point where your phone is a better processor than your laptop. You got some problems. Either making the phones too good or the laptop's not good enough. So I definitely need to look into that. We looked at doing the Mac thing as well, and I haven't made that jump to the Mac world. I've definitely done a lot of work on Macs in different job capacities, especially in television and broadcast. And you do a lot of that kind of stuff on Macs, but as far as my own personal computers, have not done that yet. What else are we looking for? I don't know. It's always fun to just find stuff. Like kids records are always fun. Disney records are fun. It just depends. So yeah, I would like to find some more Beatles stuff for sure. I heard that there is for Beatles fans, there is a big upcoming end of year release, which I'm a relatively new Beatles fan, so I'm learning this stuff all for the first time. At the end of the year, the last few years, they've been doing these big releases. In the past, they've done these box set album versions where they've got like 4 discs and all these back behind the scenes recordings and things. But this year they're redoing the Red and Blue albums because it is the 50-year anniversary of the Red and Blue albums. I've really wanted to get the Red and Blue albums on CD. I think that would be great to have. I have them on vinyl. They're not the best copies. They sound fine, but they're not, they're definitely lower grade quality items. And I've got them on streaming. Apple Music has them, of course. And I have a lot of the songs on the actual albums, but there's some alternate versions used on the Red and Blue. So I'm curious what they're going to do with the Red and Blue. I like the Red and Blue. They're really good compilations. Once I really fleshed out what I preferred in terms of Beatles songs, I discovered that I preferred a lot of the ones they went with on those albums. And some of these songs have just been blowing my mind. Like for the benefit of Mr. Kite, I spent probably a week listening to that song on repeat, just studying it. It's just absolutely mind-blowing song. There's so much depth to it. Been watching videos. There's a band out there that plays the songs that the Beatles never did live, and they do a fantastic note-for-note replication of it. That's been very, very interesting. In fact, I'm gonna leave you hanging. Who are they called? What are they called? The Analogs. Look up the Analogs, and it'll freak you out because they note for note, perfect reproduction. Steve says, vinyl, working on Beatles, Deep Purple, Elvis, Johnny Cash, and other stuff that catches my fancy. CDs, just pick up whatever's interesting. I love Red on vinyl and CD. Still looking for Blue. Yeah, and you can get CD or Blue on CD for like $6-7 on eBay. I've been tempted to do it. So which one are you looking for? I have Red on vinyl and CD. Still looking for Blue. Oh, okay. So you're looking for Blue. What sounds better to you, vinyl or reel to reel? Reel to reel always sounds better. I mean, reel to reel, you got discrete channels, and that's the biggest thing. Is you have a true left channel, a true right channel, and if you have a good tape deck, you will realize high fidelity sound because that tape is what the records were a duplicate of. The master recording was a tape. You know what I mean? Except if you're listening to pre-electric, or like not even that. If you're listening to like pre-World War II or even World War II and earlier songs, recordings, you're listening to a actual master disc that was electroplated and stamped. But if you're listening to something post 1946, I would say, you're listening to a reel-to-reel tape. That's what it was recorded in the studio. So you're closer to the original that way. I love vinyl, but I love reel-to-reel tape. I love the fiddliness of it. I love the process of threading it and listening to it and being able to only hear where you're at on the tape and to take away that instant gratification that streaming gives you, where you can skip around and stuff and to be like, well, I think there's a song on the other side near the end that I want to hear. And I like that. It's fun. It focuses your attention on the experience. I like the hiss. I like contemplating and fiddling with tape mixtures and different brands of tape and recording methods. I love my tape deck. I have the GX 4000D from the early 80s at Kai. And it's a glass ferrite. Or no, I learned it's not glass ferrite. Wait, no, the Yamaha does not have glass ferrite, but the Akai does. That's a glass ferrite head. The Yamaha deck that I have, the cassette deck, does not. It has a Pomeroy. Is it a Pomeroy? Anyway, it's not glass ferrite. It says it's a GX head or GF head, so you'd think that stands for glass ferrite, but apparently it doesn't. My friends, we've gone an hour. It's been a blast. Let's see what the temperature is. Here in Central Florida, we are experiencing heat like, I'm telling you guys. Okay, went down from 99 to 98 and went from 112 heat index to 110. So it's cooled off. Thank you for hanging out with me while things cooled off outside to a balmy 98 degrees with 100% humidity. Really appreciate you guys being there. Thank you so much. Stay in touch. I definitely want to hear from you guys. Send me pictures of stuff and that you find. Let me know about what you're looking for. Always looking for feedback on the show too. What you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, things like that. I've got a hopefully interesting show coming for you later today. In fact, as soon as I hang up here, I'm going to go edit that show and try to get it posted. It is a turntable review of a new wooden all-in-one system from ClearClick. It surprised me. It really, really did surprise me. And it should be an interesting show. Some things that you probably haven't seen in a while on this channel. So hopefully that's intriguing and interesting. I also have a shelf of product that needs reviews. Lots of ideas on the idea board. GD Watt says it's in the low 100s in Hadesburg. It's brutal. Brutal, the heat. It's so hot down here. It's so hot down here. My friends, thank you so much. God bless. Take care of one another. And we will see you next time.